Okay, so I'm going to go through how you activate a listing today. Actually, this initial part one will just be the verification of listing data, and they'll do a part two, which is actually the activation. So first thing you want to do is log in. Well, first thing, in Goldmine, you'll receive, or from someone, you'll receive an email that just says completed this listing, in this case at 873 Francisco. So that's the address. We're going to look up the address in here and find the client associated with that address. In this case, it is a some kind of builder, developer, corporate-owned property. And either under the History tab or under the Pending tab, you'll see something referenced to listing on this side. I don't see it here. Well, new listing, this could be it. I'm not seeing it. Oh, listing information disclosures are attached, so it is here. I've just got to scroll down. There we go. All this comes as a PDF, and I already had this open, but let's get to the top of this document. This is what it should look like. If it's in order, the first page will look like this. Attached single means it's either a condo or a townhome. Got the seller's contact information here. And the first thing on this side we're going to do is log into the MLS and see what input has been done. You'll be given a username and password to get into the MLS. We go to listings, add a new listing, and that's where we'll find the 873 Francisco. We check box here, hit hit continue. And the first thing we're going to do is validate the initial information here, which is some of the most important information for the listing, which is the address, begin date, end date, stuff like that. That's all at the bottom of this listing document, usually. If it's in order, like I said. Up there it is. It's all the legal stuff. Okay, so we need, in order for this to be a valid listing, we need to have all these blanks filled out, and it can't be filled out with like begin on, today and expire on to be determined, TBD, or when sold. It can't be that. It's got to be a specific date for a begin date. We have to have this date with the begin date be specific. If the end date's blank, that's okay, because it'll default to 6 months. So in this case, the end date is 12/31 and the begin date is 2/14. Now, 2/14 was yesterday, but that's okay. The red date will be today's date. We're just gonna, since that was just yesterday, we'll just make the begin date today, because otherwise it'll say it's been on the market for 1 day, which really it hasn't. Expiration date 12/31/13. That's correct, so that looks good. And then, other than that, we'll make sure the price is right. $254,900, $254,900. All that looks good. Now let's just verify this listing document. I want to make sure it's got a signature on it from the client side. In this case, it does. They actually use DocuSign. You can see it here, DocuSign.net to sign it. That's fine, but I want to see some kind of physical signature associated with it as well. And it should have also a broker's signature. If it doesn't, you should send this to a broker to get signed off, myself or Mike, or an agent signature. If the client hasn't signed it, if they typed it in there, if it's missing, we got to send this document back to the client to get them to sign off. That step should have been completed before it was, well, it wouldn't always. We queue it up sometimes and then request the documentation from the client to resend that information. But if you don't have a valid copy with all of the stuff filled out, as far as begin date, end date, price, broker commission, and a signature, the listing should not be activated. You can verify it, but don't activate it. So we'll still go through this verification process here. Even if it was blank, we'll still verify it, but we won't actually go through and generate an MLS number. We'll save it as a draft. So anyway, back to this. We can submit this. There's no changes, but submit it anyway. And we check spelling. You can check the directions for spelling if you want. Looks like the directions are cut off. Well, the client can verify that that's, let's see here. Usually not cut off because, yeah, they're only given so many spaces to fill it in, so. Here we go. Okay. So now we're just looking for spelling mistakes, things like that, those kind of errors initially. Looking through, I don't see much there in that way. It does say deeded parking space conveys, meaning that when I say deeded parking, it means the owner owns a parking space and they're transferring it with the property. If it says deeded parking sold separately, then there's usually a cost associated with that. We actually have to talk about that in the listing if it's sold separately. In this case, it conveys with the property. Management broker is active real estate broker. Managing member of the seller's team is an active real estate broker. We have to both put that in the text and a checkbox, but so it's good they mentioned that. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and so that's that. Also, oh yeah, for this description part, we're looking for anything that could be a fair housing violation, which would mean that any reference to anybody's ethnicity, their sex, that they're male or female, race, whether their sexual orientation, military, I mean anything like that should not be referenced, as well as their familial status, which means you can not say the word family in there. You can't say that it's a nice neighborhood for families. It's family friendly. Those things are fair housing violations. They need to be taken out of the listing. Any reference to religion as well needs to be taken out. If he mentions a church's name or any kind of religion, this is a great place for Buddhists or whatever, then that's got to be taken out of the listing. Those are fair housing violations and they're not allowed. And usually that'll be proofread for that before anyway, but just as the second check, we should always look for that kind of stuff. Exterior features, in this case, the parking is the main thing I look at here. I always double check the parking information. And I know from looking at this before that this one is screwed up, which is not uncommon for someone to screw it up in the city, and the form's not that great. But they have here, it's an exterior space, it's included in price, it's not a garage, and then they have down here that it is a garage, it's on-site owned. So I don't know what it is, I don't know how many spots there are, I got to verify that, because it says one garage space right here. So anyway, we got to just verify the parking situation with an email. Interior features, I don't check much here, just a note, square footage, if this is 0, then we need to say that it's not reported. We'll have to check this box. They'll force you to do that anyway. If it is, in this case, they put down it's given by the assessor, but if it was like this field was blank, we just default to it's given to us by the seller, because that's who sent us the information. I don't really verify a lot of the other information. I'm assuming it's correct from the listing sheet. Room details. They said it was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. Look at this. They put in 0 by 0, 0 by 0. That's not allowed. We need to verify the actual dimensions of the rooms, so we'll have to verify dimensions of the bedrooms. Additionally here, just note they've comboed out the dining room. That's allowed. You can do that and leave this blank, because it just means that the living room and dining room are one combined space, 19 by 18 feet, and all on the same floor. So we're going to have to send the client an email saying we need the dimensions for the rooms. We could also look up the room dimensions if we wanted to, and you could look for a past listing for that particular address, or you could look for a past, or if it's the same tier in a condo building. In other words, this is if this was unit 801 and you could find a unit 901, usually those are the exact same dimensions for room dimensions. Utilities, looks good. Taxes. They actually had entered in 2012 before by accident because taxes are paid in arrears, so you're never going to have the same. Well, 2013 now, but 2012 is too soon. They don't have 2012 records yet. But anyway, you want to verify that this tax information has been filled out. You can also do a quick check here by clicking on Preview the Listing, and you can click on this PIN number thing, and that'll give you the tax documentation. You can check the tax numbers there. Office information. The showing instructions should just say call owner at this phone number, unless they've given us specific instructions like text the owner, or text or email the owner, or do both. The default is call owner at the phone number from the listing sheet, which would be, it's nothing to really verify, because if you have the wrong phone number in there, they're going to get ticked off and not getting any calls. 703-594-1621 looks right. Operating commission, we already verified that is 3%. It's always minus 250 currently. We may change it in the future, but right now it's always the case. Management company left this blank. That's not good because it's a required field. These red asterisks mean it's required. We'll have to ask them for that, but the data entry people told us that it was missing anyway. Agent remarks, it should always say email offers to sales@burkeproperties.com or fax offers to 888-615-0169 is the default number for our corporate fax line currently. So, next step would be to email our client and say, hey, we're missing the management company information. I actually already did that, so I don't want to send it to them again, but you can pull down, I have one set up here for management company. You can pull down emails and say, okay, let's say they had asked information about, we need payment for something, we have it pulled down for that. In this case, it's going to be management company information we need. Actually, like I said, I already did that, so I'm not going to send it to them. But I forgot to do is send them the information is, hey, we need dimensions for the bedrooms for all 3 bedrooms before we activate. There we go. Another thing under media, just make sure all the pictures are there. If they're not, you can usually find them on the contacts record. And make sure all the pictures are loaded. I like to do an exterior picture has got to be first. If there's no exterior picture, we need to email the client and ask them for an exterior picture. And then usually a kitchen picture, or if they have a nice living room and the living room picture, a picture that defines a living space. It's a nice upgraded kitchen, so I put that one first. And then family living area, dining room for a separate dining room, and then the bedrooms usually followed by the bathrooms. Sometimes if there's an amazing view at a condo, we could showcase that by putting it first, like if it's a view of the lakefront and the city view, because that can be a primary feature of the place. Or you can stick it, just up in the middle of the listing. In this case, the outdoor space is not. There's no view that we've been given, and the outdoor space is marginal. Picture of the fire escapes. This may be a patio of theirs. I don't know what that is. Then maybe a little. Oh, that's their balcony. But it's hard to tell what that is. You do have a balcony, but not that aesthetically pleasing, so I didn't showcase it. Anyway, that's that. If you click Save and Continue here, it says, hey, there's problems with your listing. And these red X's tell you where the problems are. Exterior features. We know we got a blank here for parking spaces. And we know we're missing the management information. Any missing information we got to email the client about. I've already emailed them about the interior features, which wasn't a missing data. They actually gave us zeros, and so my data entry people just entered that in. But if that was blank, that would show a red X here. Not interior features. I'm room dimensions here. So technically, this is really like giving us no data. So if that was blanked out like that, and I did save as continue, that would show up too. All right, so I'm going to save this as a draft. And as soon as the client gets back to me with the information and I fill it out and we're all set to go, then I'll activate it. It'll generate an MLS number. and then we will I'll go through another video where we actually activate and finish off the listing. Figure out how to turn this thing off.